Thank you. Wonderful. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome to Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are so glad that you are here. My name is Bernadine Cataletta, and I feel honored to be a member of this congregation. I will be your worship assistant this morning. Also this morning, we start our summer program called Voices of Emerson. We are privileged to have Ed Cosper as our speaker. Ed has contributed so many of his talents and skills to the vitality of this congregation. In the 5 years that he and his wife, Kathy, have been members, Ed has shared his resonant bass voice in the Emerson Choir, the Story for All Ages, and also the many times he speaks from the pulpit as worship assistant. Ed shares his wisdom and ideas in the many committees he's actively involved in, like the Social Justice Committee and the Memorial Garden Committee. Ed is also a resource for us in his role as ministry associate, and he will represent our congregation for the 4th consecutive year at the UUA General Assembly. Ed was raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, during the days of racial segregation, and it was oppression like this that spawned the birth of the civil rights movement. When Ed extends his hand in greeting, he shares his kindness and compassion. Ed doesn't believe in strangers, only friends he hasn't met yet. Ed is here this morning to lead us in our Juneteenth celebration. Please join me in welcoming Ed Cosper. I want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the very first time, either in person or online. We are grateful that you are here, and we look forward to getting to know you. If you're viewing online, we hope to get to meet you soon. For everyone here in person, you're invited to join us for social time following the service, for light refreshments in our fellowship hall. The fellowship hall is on this floor, behind the sanctuary, right through that door. At 11:25, please join us for religious exploration and small group activities. There will be worship reflections right here in the sanctuary, and additional offerings are listed in your order of service. As Unitarian Universalist congregation, we affirm that women's rights are human rights, that Black lives do matter, that climate change is real, and that diversity should be celebrated. And we believe in the inherent dignity and worthiness of each and every person. Each Sunday, we light our chalice. Its flame is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism and a reminder of our commitment to be a beacon of love and hope to all. Today, Seth Wilson will light our chalice. May the flame of this chalice shine on the many places we come from, along our many different paths, bringing different truths. We come with different histories and different realities, and yet we come together as one people with faith that we can use for our differences, to heal ourselves and each other, and to bring wholeness to a fractured world, a world where love creates justice and justice gives birth to peace. Now, in the spirit of the beloved community, let us greet and welcome each other to worship as we share our congregational affirmation, we need not think alike to love alike. Feel free to move around and offer a greeting to others. For those online, please use the chat to introduce yourself or unmute to say hello.
The Civil War ended in the summer of 1865, and Union General Gordon Granger and his troops traveled to Galveston, Texas, to announce General Order Number 3. On June 19th of 1865, June 19th would go on to be known and celebrated as Juneteenth. General Order Number 3. The people are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them become that between an employer and hired labor. The freed are advised to remain in their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere. Please rise as you are willing and able and join us in singing hymn number 151, I Wish I Knew Now.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Susan Ullman, a member of our Emerson Pastoral Care Team. It's good to be here. Let's pause in our service and reflect on matters of the heart. Thank you, Bernadine, for joining me in this meaningful part of our devotion. You and Tom truly bless our Emerson congregation with your presence. For this morning's ritual, we have water and we have stones. The stones are smooth and the stones have weight. They indicate life's pleasures in times of ease, and they also represent life's burdens in times of heaviness. Water receives these stones with ease and calmness and acceptance. Each week, we invite you to write a joy, sorrow, or concern statement in this book, or email it to us at pastoralcare@emersonuu.org, and we'll read it at this time. If you're online, we invite you to recreate the stone water bowl part of this service by placing a stone in a shallow bowl of water nearby to honor what's in your heart. Let's begin by placing 3 stones, please. One in honor of the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of indigenous peoples who lived here long before us. One for those wrongly enslaved here and who labored on this land endlessly. And one for all those who are hurting in current conflicts across our globe, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, and other places in the world. Within our Emerson community, we have a joy from James Elliott. Stephen Turner has successfully defended his dissertation. The newly minted Dr. Tanner will officially have his PhD just as soon as some signatures are finalized and completed. Additionally, and this is another good part. Additionally, he's working in Hiram and will be back in the Atlanta area full time. Please join his partner, James Elliott, in welcoming him home permanently. We're so proud of both of you. And we have a sorrow from Christy Ogle. Your loving thoughts are requested for the departing spirit of my dear friend, Kay Parsons, and for her surviving life partner, Diane Cheek. You have our warm thoughts. Let's add a final stone for concerns we hold silently in our hearts. Now, in thankful awareness, let's say the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. Please read the words with me. They should be printed on the screen. May we all be filled with loving kindness. May we all be free from harm and suffering. May we all be well in body, heart, and mind. May we all be at peace. Blessed be.
Hello, I'm Peggy from the Social Justice Committee and some other things. One way we seek to share loving kindness is by partnering with other organizations who work to bring love, kindness, and justice to the world. This month's Share the Basket is Moms Demand Action. I would like to introduce one of the Georgia leaders who is with us today. Maggie Vennard Zwetler is a retired Cobb County teacher. She has an educational specialist degree in early childhood education and also English for speakers of other languages. She is a mom of 3 and a grandmother of 6, and they're all students in the Cobb and Cherokee County schools. Maggie became involved in the gun violence prevention movement after the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. Watching the ensuing reports of student survivors speaking up for themselves because the adults in their lives failed to protect them motivated Maggie to get up off the couch and get active. Please welcome Maggie Zwetler.
Thank you so much for having me here today. And I want you all to know how much our organization appreciates your generosity and your support for the 2nd year in a row now. And rest assured, we are working hard to save lives. As Peggy was saying, I've been a volunteer since 2018. But after I got involved with Moms Demand Action, I opened my eyes as I met other members in our organization. So many are survivors who have lost loved ones. So many are friends of people who have died by gun violence. And I really came to understand so much better the plague that's in our country. And even though I had a close friend whose son was taken by gun suicide, I never connected or was aware of the extent of that issue in our country and how much the overabundance of firearms and the easy access for people who should not be able to gain firearms, the cost and the toll that has brought upon our country. So we work hard to try to change that. And sadly, at this point in Georgia, we are now in a public health crisis. And I'll go over the data that supports that if you're able to come to our short talk, but I know you have a lot of wonderful things going on here today. So Peggy is one of my best volunteers, and she can share information with you whenever you like. And yes, it is an uphill battle here in Georgia, but we keep going. Peggy asked me to talk about some of our successes. So I would like to talk about some of our nationwide successes because in the 11 years that Moms Demand Action has been an advocacy group, we have worked very hard with other gun violence prevention organizations, and we have brought about significant changes. And I just want to give you a few examples of some of the issues that you hear about in the news all the time. So I'm going to compare 2013 to 2024. Back in 2013, there were background checks required on all gun sales in 14 states, which represented only 23% of the population in our country. Today, background checks on all gun sales are required in 22 states and DC, which represents 50% of the population. So we are halfway there. Thank you. And fortunately, right now, we have a very supportive federal administration, which is doing what they can. But because we live in 50 states, which in many ways are 50 different countries, we need to make changes in our individual states as well. Red flag laws you may have heard of. They're also called extreme risk protection orders, where guns can be temporarily taken from people who are at risk of harming either themselves or someone else. And back in 2013, these laws were on the books in only 2 states, which represented 3% of the American population. Nowadays, we have those laws in 21 states, which represents 54% of the population. And secure storage laws is the last one I'll speak about briefly. This is our number one goal in Georgia, to pass secure storage laws. Back in 2013, they were only in 18 states and DC. Right now, they're in 21 states, but they represent 54% of the population is protected by secure storage laws. And what we're working hard to pass here in Georgia is simply a law that states if you have children in your home, you are required to securely store your firearms. And it's very common sense. It's what all responsible gun owners would agree with. But we can't get it through the legislature. But we are trying. We're working very, very hard. Okay, and I do have one more. A big concern for many of us, I know, are keeping guns out of the hands of domestic violence abusers. And back in 2013, 24 states, including DC, had these laws on the books, 66% of the population. Nowadays, 36 states and DC, representing 82% of the American population, are protected by these laws. So we have some work to do here in Georgia. But on a positive note for our wonderful state of Georgia, last year we stopped a bill that was very, very close to being squeaked through at the end of the session that would have proposed to give teachers who agreed to carry firearms into the schools with them a $5,000 bonus. We stopped that. We had thank you. And every voice counts because we initiated a massive daily campaign of calls, emails to the Speaker of the House, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, to all officials, and also daily emails and going down to the Capitol, lobbying at the Capitol. And fortunately, they pulled that amendment from the bill and announced that it would not be reintroduced. So I'd like to, it's always good to end on a helpful note, a hopeful note, I should say. But again, thank you so much for having me here today. And if you would like more information on Moms Demand Action and the other programs that we are aligned with, please feel free to reach out. Like I said, Peggy's a fabulous resource, and she has my contact information as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie. Please offer a donation as you are able, or take one of the cards that describes the ways to give electronically. Ways to give are also posted in the chat, and thank you very much.
I am Patricia, and I'm going to be doing this story this morning. So for the young at heart, please come forward. So as Ed stated earlier, we're celebrating a special holiday in the country. It's called Juneteenth, and the book that I'm reading is called Juneteenth for Maisie by Floyd Cooper. Maisie wants to play outside, but it is too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it is time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she's too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. How frustrating. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asked Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-great-grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in fields that stretched all the way to sunset. That's pretty far. He and the other slaves would be bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their masters wouldn't let them quit. But as they worked, they thought about freedom. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. They sweat, they bled, and they cried till those cries were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing. The dancing became celebrating. It went on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked and they saved, and they never forgot the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up. And every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes. Now, sweet Maisie, it's your turn to celebrate, just like great-great-great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate and to remember. On June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Celebrated every year on June 19th, Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the entire United States. And I'm going to add that it was a holiday celebrated first in Texas and much, much later in the rest of the country. Now it's time for our song.
And now, let's just take a moment to center ourselves, to quiet our minds, and to be in the present. Quietly think about those who came before us. I've made a decision this morning, and it all was created by the fact that, as many of you know, I'm so laid back and quiet and don't have a whole lot to say, but I got excited about this service, and all of a sudden I got thinking I was back home in the black church and that we were going to be here for 2 or 3 hours. So I planned a whole bunch of music and upbeat music, and we've been singing and singing and singing. But I in order not so the time doesn't get too far away from us, I'm going to let our anthem be presented to you another Sunday. And so we'll do the anthem another Sunday. Are you guys okay with that? All right, good. All right, great. You okay, Bruce? All right. Good morning. And so begins our worship service that's centered around Juneteenth, an American holiday that was created and sustained by formerly enslaved humans and their descendants. The same date each year, June 19th, when we celebrate the recognition that we, like any other human, were born free. Notice that I didn't use those often spoken words, we were set free. No. See, deep in my heart, I believe all the ancestors who had their hopes, their dreams, and the multitude of life's possibilities stolen away. They were stripped and beaten, chained, raped, and murdered, and forced to do unspeakable labor. Yeah, those chains could not and would not ever erase our desire to reach the promised land and be free. As of June 17th of 2021, Juneteenth is now a recognized national holiday. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Celebrated as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, and Emancipation Day, Juneteenth celebrations feature opportunities for activism related to social disparities, including race and gender, class, healthcare, and the environment, in the form of rallies and seminars and demonstrations. So it's not just a black thing. It's a time for all Americans to pledge our support to create not only a better America, but also a better world. And still I say, freedom is coming. Yeah, we ain't there yet. You know it, I know it, and everybody else knows it, because I'm still afraid of the po-po with their red and blue lights. I think I have good reasons to feel that way. And it comes to mind that here in America, we have the highest rates of maternal death rates in the industrialized nations throughout the world. And that we have a Supreme Court, the People's Court, that strips women's rights. And guns are still allowed to kill our babies. As we celebrate Juneteenth with food, like barbecue and corn on the cob, creamed corn, fried corn, collard greens, seasoned with anything resembling fat, all that stuff dripping in butter, and red ripe tomatoes, green ones too, macaroni salad, 3 bean salad, cucumbers, potato salad, okra, and a big slice of watermelon. I'm not talking your language yet. Okay. And served with an ice cold tumbler of red pop and a slice of red velvet cake. Yeah, hurry up here, get over this, and we gotta go eat. Okay, yep. There was ice cold beer even, freshly pulled from someone's cooler. And oh yes, and some of that homemade ice cream freshly churned by hand in that old-timey wooden ice cream maker. Some of you are old enough to remember that, right, Millie? Some of you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the adults would be switching in the kitchen. Can y'all feel me yet? Dressed in a fun summer outfit with a hat to block the sun and a church fan. I made sure you had them here, okay? A church fan to swat away the flies while providing a gentle breeze. We'd play games, horseshoes, dodgeball, tag. You can't catch me, kickball, badminton, blowing soap bubbles, balloons, lawn darts. Oops, wait a minute. That's right, we're not supposed to play with those. We could hurt ourselves. Water guns and every kind of ball you can imagine. What? Yeah. There was music, old school music, dancing to the blues away, mom and daddy smiling, holding hands, and making the little kids cover their eyes, saying, oh, please, y'all better take that somewhere else. And the grandmothers and the aunts are standing watch over the teenagers. Everybody was there, Uncle Johnny, Aunt Cora, Cousin Junebug, and even the minister from the CME and AME church. People are swapping stories, remembering and passing down our history. It was time to strengthen family bonds and learn about our family tree. Who's who? And how are we connected? This was our biggest celebration of the year. We are free. Y'all, we are free. We are celebrating Juneteenth. But freedom is still coming. It amazes me that we can spend billions of dollars for everything, wars, and everybody around the world. And still we have people and citizens of this United States without roofs over their heads or food on their table. Let us remember the part of the 13th Amendment that spoke of the exception to that freedom that we speak of. It says, and I quote, "except as a punishment for crime." You're free except as a punishment for crime. Loitering or being unemployed or any black code laws that could be created to keep families separated and broken. And it continues today, and where I see that in 2023, 1.8 million incarcerated people in prisons across America, more than anywhere else in the world. 1 out of 5 black males not home today for Father's Day. Juneteenth is not just a time to party with all the excitement and laughter. This day is also a day to commemorate those who paved the way, those who prayed to keep hope alive. When I close my eyes and sit in silence, I think I can hear the cries of misery, the aches and pains of tired bodies, the piercing grief that came as families were split and sewed away. You know, it wasn't all that long ago. I just learned that Kentucky finally ratified the 13th Amendment in March of 1976. Oh, that ain't nothing, because Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until March of 1995. And many people still looking for the fruits of that freedom today. And now a new form of slavery is upon us and continues under an updated name, human trafficking. Oh, how cruel we can be. I wonder what they thought when the word reached them in Galveston, Texas. Did they jump for joy when told that they were free? Was it this freedom they were talking about? Was it something that, well, what did it mean? Freedom. I read that in 1865 they only believed they were free because for the first time ever, they saw people who looked like them dressed in blue uniforms, and they had guns. They were the Union soldiers, the black Union soldiers who had fought to bring an end to the Civil War, and they said, "It's true, you're free," because we wouldn't believe in just one white man standing up there telling us that. They say we are free. I can see them asking, where do we go? We have nothing, no food, no housing, no clothes. What do we do? How do I break the message that rings in my head that the master said, "I will kill you before I'll let you go free"? Has he changed his mind? And of course, that all important. Can I find my family that were sold away from me? Can I find my family that was sold away from me? Freedom is coming. Please accept the challenge to learn the stories of our past and keep hope alive. I challenge you to join me in continuing the march for freedom. And now, as you are able and willing, would you please join me in singing hymn number 1017, "We Are Building a New Way." we'll show that video another time too. I'd like to read something to you very quickly in closing. It's a letter from Jordan Anderson, a freedman, writes his former master. Jordan Anderson, a formerly enslaved person, responds to a request from his former master to return to work for him. Dated Dayton, Ohio, August 7th of 1865, to my old master, Colonel P.H. Anderson, Big Springs, Tennessee. Sir, I got your letter and was glad to find that you had not forgotten Jordan and that you wanted me to come back and live with you again, promising to do better for me than anybody else can. I have often felt uneasy about you. I thought the Yankees would have hung you long before this for harboring rebs they found at your house. I suppose they never heard about your going to Colonel Martin's to kill the Union soldier that was left by his company in their stable. Although you shot at me twice before I left you, I did not want to hear of your being hurt, and I'm glad you are still living. It would do me good to go back and to the dear old home again and see Miss Mary and Miss Martha, Allen, Esther, and Green, and Lee. Give my love to them all and tell them I hope we will meet in a better world, if not in this. I would have gone back to see you all when I was working in the Nashville hospital, but one of the neighbors told me that Henry intended to shoot me if he ever got a chance. I want to know particularly what the good chance is you promised to give me. I am doing tolerably well here. I get $25 a month with victuals and clothing. Have a comfortable home for Mandy. You know, the folks call her Mrs. Anderson. And the children, Millie, Jane, and Grundy, go to school and are learning well. The teacher says Grundy has a head for a preacher. They go to Sunday school, and Mandy and me attend church regularly. We are kindly treated. Sometimes we overhear others saying, them colored people were slaves down in Tennessee. The children feel hurt when they hear such remarks, but I tell them it was no disgrace in Tennessee to belong to Colonel Anderson. Many darkies would have been proud, as I used to be, to call you master. Now, if you write and say what wages you will give me, I will be better able to decide whether it would be to my advantage to move back again. As to my freedom, which you say I can have, there is nothing to be gained on that score, as I got my free papers in 1864 from the Provost Marshal General of the Department of Nashville. Mandy says she would be afraid to go back without some proof that you were disposed to treat us justly and kindly. And we have concluded to test your sincerity by asking you to send us our wages for the time we served you. This will make us forget and forgive old scores and rely on your justice and friendship in the future. I served you faithfully for 32 years and Mandy 20 years at $25 a month for me and $2 a week from Mandy. Our earnings would amount to $11,680. Add to this the interest for the time our wages have been kept back, and deduct what you paid for our clothing and 3 doctor visits for me and pulling a tooth for Mandy. And the balance will show what we are in justice entitled to. Please send the money by Adams Express in care of V. Winters, Esquire, in Dayton, Ohio. If you failed to pay us for faithful labors in the past, we can have little faith in your promises in the future. We trust the good Maker has opened your eyes to the wrongs which you and your fathers have done to me and my fathers, in making us toil for you for generations without recompense. Here I draw my wages every Saturday night, but in Tennessee there was never any payday for the Negroes any more than for the horses and cows, and surely there will be a day of reckoning for those who defraud the laborer of his hire. So in answering this letter, please state if there would be any safety for my Millie and Jane, who are now grown up and both good-looking girls. You know how it was with poor Matilda and Catherine. I would rather stay here and starve and die if it come to that, than to have my girls brought to shame by the violence and wickedness of their young masters. You will also state if there has been any schools open for the colored children in the neighborhood. The great desire of my life now is to give my children an education and have them form virtuous habits. This is from your old servant, Jordan Anderson. P.S. Say howdy to George Carter and thank him for taking that pistol from you when you were shooting at me.
We hope you have been nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. And thank you, Ed, for your message that we should never forget our country's shameful past, and we need to celebrate and cherish freedom. Thank you. As our chalice is extinguished this morning, please join us in the final words that are posted in the chat and in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. So join us next week when Mike Myers will celebrate the summer solstice, and there are a few announcements. Did you want to make an announcement?
Hey everybody, if you see in your order of service today, we are having a pride party this afternoon during third hour. It's being hosted by our Cobb GSA here at the church, but all are welcome. It is open to the public. It is free. There's going to be food. There's going to be crafts. There's going to be activities. Please, please join us. It is open to everybody, not just those that are in our GSA. Thanks.
Okay, and there's another addition to our activities. Kindergarten children aged through high school and adults can join Ms. Gillian for activities around water justice. We will start in room 214 upstairs and end outside at 11:20. No, I'm sorry, that's just wrong. We're going to start at 11:20 and end at 12:20. That's what it is. All right, and there's a little change in where the Pagan Mary meet. Will meet in room 215, so that's an adjustment. They'll meet in room 215. And Moms Demand Action will be in 103, and service reflections right here. As our service ends, go now in peace and take peace wherever you go.